Okay, so this is one area that when you're doing a heated shower floor that you end up having a difference in height, because all we did was reduce the flooring underneath of the shower pan 3/4 of an inch, and that pan is actually 1 inch thick. So if you put Ditra Heat on top of it, you're going to be 1/4 inch off. So you can see here with my level coming out here, I'm about 1/4 inch higher in the shower area than I am in the outside floor. Now there's a couple ways I could have addressed this. Number one, I could have put some cement board down on the outside floor and built this up. That takes a lot of labor, I think, and I just don't find that being a very efficient way of use of time, and it's just more troublesome to lay that. The second option would be just to floor level the outside floor, and that's what I'm going to do now that I have all the heat wiring in. I'm just going to bring the floor leveler up to the height of my curbless shower, and now we'll solve that problem. Now I'm not going to waterproof my shower area until I get all the floor leveler done first. It only makes sense to basically waterproof over that floor leveler so that you know that everything's 100% waterproof outside of that shower area. Okay, so before you go ahead and start floor leveling, it's really important to seal everything against the wall and leave an expansion and contraction joint against that wall, typically between 1/8 and 1/4 inch. But what we're going to use is just some spray foam. So it's probably going to be a little bit more than that once I use the spray foam. But this is a great way to seal all those cracks, and it's also a great way to make sure that you have that expansion and contraction joint. So we just simply go right along here. I'm going to do this before I put the wires in or before I do any sanding of drywall, because I want this to adhere to the actual Ditra mat. Okay, then around the toilet flange, you can just put a bead all the way around here. So that makes sure that that seals around that toilet flange. And as you can see, I'm just going all the way around the entire perimeter of the room, and then even around this. I mean, this would be something that you'd be somewhat hesitant to think that would work, but the foam really does adhere to that Ditra mat and then prevents it from going in there. Same thing with the doorway. Bring that all the way across. There's carpet there. I don't want that floor leveler going over that carpet. Okay, so my pro tip that I want to give you is to use floor leveler to fill over your waffle of your Ditra Heat mat. I think it makes it much easier. Most of the time you're not end up actually installing tile the same day as you install the Ditra Heat. So I think floor leveler makes it simpler, and it's going to make a nicer level floor. Now keep in mind, if you're actually trying to level a floor, you want to do that before you put down the Ditra Heat. The Ditra, or Schluter I should say, only wants you to fill in those waffles up to 1/4 inch over top of that Ditra Heat mat. So if you need the floor level, do that before you actually install the Ditra Heat. But in this case, everything's fairly level. I just need to raise the height a little bit to meet my pan. So I'm just going to be about 1/4 inch above my Ditra Heat mat. And I think the floor leveler makes it much easier and makes a nice smooth surface and ready for tile the next day. One of my favorite floor levelers I like to use is Ardex liquid backer board. I just find it to be really smooth and easy to work with. I do use a bigger bucket. This is a basically used for floor leveler, so I can mix 2 bags at a time. Makes things a little bit more efficient. But the most important thing you can do is mix the right amount of water with your floor leveler. So make sure you pay attention to the back of the bag on how much water. In this case, it's 6 quarts of water per bag. So we're going to go ahead and mix some in our measuring bucket here. So again, measuring the water, very, very important point. You have to make sure you have the right amount of water for each bag that you mix. And you want to mix it for that full 2 minutes or whatever the bag is telling you to mix it. Mixing it that 2 minutes is going to make it flow easier. And using a good mixer like this really helps. I'll put the link in the description below for that. So you can see the great consistency when you're pouring it out of that bucket. When you mix it to the right ratio, it kind of forms out like water. Now you need to agitate this to move this around to get a consistent layer. And what I'm using here is just a gauge rake, but you can use a squeegee or even a broom if you had to, just to move this around and get it to where you need it. Now you can see that I'm just making that level with the shower pan. That's all I'm trying to achieve here with this. And then again, it's just so much easier than actually thin setting and filling in all that waffle using the floor leveler. So I'm just continuing to agitate it, move it around. There's the full scope. Next morning, you can just remove all the foam around the edges, and that's keeping that expansion and contraction joint. So I'm just using a 6-inch knife and just removing all the foam around the perimeter. Now in our next video, we're going to show you about waterproofing the shower area, and I have a lot of great tips that are going to help you out and prevent any leakage outside of your shower area. So please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.